So I really believe that there are power in words, especially as we have our opportunities to communicate and collaborate and co-create with each other within the World Joy movement, and honestly, just within this new world that we are shaping right now. The power of our words and our choice of words actually goes a long way. And so I've become a big fan of finding the etymology of a word. The etymology is really the study of the history of the word. Where did the word come from? And I love to go back to these etymologies because it help me understand the power of a word. We might use some words kind of colloquially or just like in everyday usage nowadays, but I always get really curious about what made that word even exist, and how can we use it as it was originally intended. Well, right now I've been pretty tickled because we have a certain type of gathering inside of the World Joy movement where we call it a retrospective and prospective. And the purpose of those events, those gatherings, are for the members of the World Joy movement to come together and talk about the things that have happened over the last 3 months. That's the retrospective element, and then look ahead to the next 3 months to see what we want to create together. And it gives us a nice opportunity to constantly be co-creating and to do our work of just being in the movement during the quarter, but then have certain checkpoints where we can slow down and see things from a new vantage point, a new perspective. Right. So that's what got me. I was talking about retrospectives. I was looking at prospectives here, with a retrospective saying, let's go ahead and look back, and a prospective saying, let's go ahead and look forward from wherever we are. And then the idea of perspective came to mind. And perspective for me is like, okay, but let's also do this. This gives us a chance to see it from different angles, to see it from different places. And that word spect, that part of the word spect just kept coming through. And so I needed to spend a little bit of time like searching into the etymology behind it. The main thing around here is that the spec comes from spec, SPEK, which originally meant to observe. And I think that to look at and to observe. And I think that's what, like, when I really think about what we do here in the World Joy movement and in our, like, in the space of having conversations, we're here to observe. Yes, we're here to talk and to be in conversation with each other, but really great conversation, it requires us to pay attention, to listen to what is both being said, but more importantly, what is not being said, how it's being said, and to actually pay attention to the words and the power of the words that each of us as individuals choose to make. So we are actually here to observe. And I wanted to be really clever coming in here. I wrote down a few of the words that have come from the derivation of the word spec, to observe or to look at. It includes inspect, introspect, right? Where you're looking within yourself, inspecting to look into something else, right? Respect, RESPECT, right? That is, the stands for back. And it's actually comes from the feeling of consistently looking back at someone and with like admiration, right? So you respect that person. You're consistently looking back at them. There's spectacle. That one I really loved here. Like, what if every gathering, every time we came together, it was a spectacle, something to look at, something to observe? What if we allowed ourselves to be spectacles in this space, and rather than playing it safe and kind of hide and blend into the background, we allowed ourselves to show up as a spectacle in all of our messiness and all the outstandingness and the outrageousness of any one of our ideas, or what are the visions that we have for each other. All these words came together. This idea of spect just played itself really fully for me, and it put a huge smile on my face. It's even behind the word spectrum, right? And so even in our conversations, we're gonna have a spectrum of different thoughts and opinions and just backgrounds and feelings. And we had the World Joy movement is a space for the entire spectrum on multiple different levels, right? So from the entire spectrum, from different perspectives, right? So I love how awesome this one root word is in terms of everything that we do as part of the movement. Now, if I take this out of the movement itself and we just talk about the application out in the World Joy movement is really just a sandbox, a playground to model what the world could look like should we be interacting with each other and in a completely different way. If we were able to interact with each other through every single instance and conversation with a place that was stemmed from co-creation, collaboration, and the feeling of belonging right off the bat. So that's what we practice when we come together in that space. But it's directly applicable outside of these curated conversations. It's directly applicable because you can bring it into your workplace, your next conversation with your spouse, your partner, your teammate, your client, your prospect. See what I did there? Future client, and beyond. And use this as an opportunity to really give yourself a chance to be in the conversation differently, rather than trying to go and get your opinion across or to convince or change anything. What would happen if you just chose to allow yourself to observe and to look into, to really be with that individual and take on a different perspective, to see what it is that they're not, what they're trying to hide, and to hear the things that they aren't saying. If you're able to listen with that kind of depth, if you're able to observe the conversation with that kind of depth, you'll be able to see it from different vantage points. And it gives us a chance to really be able to connect and get back into relation with each other. And that is one of the things that helps unify us all around, because we might see the same exact piece of light, but see that on a very different spectrum. And if you're willing to open yourself up to simply observing, I think you're going to get a lot more out of each interaction that we have. So if you're interested in being a part of a space that will allow that to come forth, come be a part of the World Joy movement. We have conversations where we take this time to really observe one another in so many different contexts. Go to beworldjoy.com and sign up for the next conversation that we're having. And if you want to, come and join us at a upcoming retrospective and prospective, so you can share your thoughts, feelings, and the way that you see things, and what you've observed, so that we can go forward and see how we're going to create and keep creating this movement together going forward. Here's the thing: I see you, and I invite you to be heard, be seen, and be world joy. Go to beworldjoy.com to come and join us, and we'll continue the conversation inside the movement. Until later, bye. It's the World Joy Movement. Yeah. What was your greatest insight from this conversation? And if you want to come and be a part of a conversation like this live, it's really simple. Just go to beworldjoy.com and come introduce yourself, and let's take the conversation to the next level, because you're there now. All right, let's play.